We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I am Jewel.
I'm Jeff.
Lakeisha, you got to turn your mic on, sis. We can't hear you.
I'm Lakeisha.
There we go. There we go. In the building. In the building. She's here. She's here. Well, welcome, guys. This is the Couples Academy Show. We hope that you are somewhere safe. We hope that you've got a pad and pen. We're about to dive deep into some comprehensive information. We're talking about the 10 signs that your spouse is cheating on you, part 2. Now, yesterday, we gave a foundation. We didn't get into any signs, but we're going deep into signs today. So make sure you, you're there, you're present. We want you to tell your partner. We want us all to have a conversation, because what we want to do is prevent it if it has happened, be aware of it if it is happening, and keep it from ever happening again. And so listen, guys, before we get started, as you know, we have a lot coming up in the month of November. We're almost halfway through the month, a little bit over halfway through the month. Last Chance Weekend is fast approaching, November the 11th through the 13th, as well as December the 9th through the 11th. People are registering this space for you. We look forward to having you. Also, the Foundry experience, January 20th through the 22nd. Jeff, I'm excited about that. We're more than halfway filled, and we're still yet a few months away. It's going to be an incredible experience. And so if you are a woman and have a man in your life, you need to get him registered to be there, because it's going to be a transformational experience. All right, let's dive in deep. We want to get into this conversation. When you have so many great voices on, everybody, has so much to share. We want to waste any time. Phones ring. See, that's how busy we are. Somebody's ready right now. They're about to register. All right, we're talking about the top 10 signs of that your spouse is cheating. We're going to go right into it. Number one, your spouse becomes emotionally distant. I think we may have touched on that yesterday, but let's just come full circle again. This is a huge thing. This is huge. When there's this emotional disconnect that happens, a lot of times spouses aren't aware as to what is happening, why it's happening. Oftentimes when a person has got to the point where they're frustrated and they begin to dive into an affair, it's a surprise to the spouse, because they're like, you never told me anything was wrong. We never communicated about this. There's an emotional disconnect as a result of a communication breakdown. And so whenever there's this gap, oftentimes others come in to fill in the gap, and that is a sign. So if you're disconnected in a way that you haven't been before, it's something that you want to consider. Anyone want to weigh in on that point?
I think one of the biggest things you will see is the ignoring, where they're ignoring you, or everything is just whatever. Nothing you say, nothing you do seems to make a difference to them. And then they just look for ways to escape.
Yeah, for me, I think about scarcity of space. They're used to be in that space all the time, and now there's a whole lot of empty space because their body is not there. It's someplace else. But if their body's not with you, their body is someplace else. I want to say too that, just blanket statement, and I'm not sure if you guys talked about this yesterday, but if you see these signs, that doesn't necessarily mean that cheating is happening, right? And if you don't see any of these signs, that doesn't necessarily mean that cheating is happening. So you got to have conversations with your spouse, right? Because you just never know what's going on. Sometimes there's space because there's been a change in what they have going on. I think more importantly, does it make sense? If they're not around, they're not spending as much time with you, does it make sense? Can you connect it to something? Is there something going on where they have more responsibilities at work? Are they working on a project? Did they start some type of business venture that's new? So are they not there because they're doing that, and maybe they've put their attention someplace else? So it's not necessarily that they're cheating, but sometimes they are. So you do have to have, again, that conversation with your spouse, and it shouldn't be an issue right? If there's nothing going on, they shouldn't have a problem talking to you about your concerns.
And it'll be more consistent too. I think one of the things that it comes from is guilt, right? So it's if I say something, if I do something, if I'm talking too much or communicating too much or trying to be too close, I'm going to give away the fact that I'm actually talking to somebody else. So that they're creating that distance so they don't have to encounter or even have to think about. Because every time they see you, I'm telling you this from a man's perspective, every time they see you, they're thinking about, oh my God, I'm gonna get caught.
Yep.
So
It's this is what it is. I hope you're getting something out of these conversations. I think, Lakeisha, what you're talking about is the importance of balancing head and heart, because in your heart of hearts or in your body you may feel something's off, but that's why it's important to have these conversations, non-emotional conversations, to check in. Hey, what's going on? Like, I'm noticing you haven't been around. I'm noticing even when you're physically here, like there's just an emotional disconnect. Like, we used to sit on the couch and we used to cuddle watching our show. Now I'm on one end and you're on the other. I'm noticing that you're a whole lot more quiet than you typically are. We would come down after work and connect and debrief and share our day, and things are just strange and different. It's an awkward silence. What is going on? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything that we need to discuss? Is there anything that we need to work on? And when you get nothing, it's all good. Nothing's wrong. Like, those could be signs that something is actually wrong. Now, to your point, doesn't mean that there's an affair. It doesn't. So I don't want people to live in panic. I don't want people to live in paranoia, but these are indicators that we want to be mindful of as we, transition through life together. But let's go to the second point. Here's a huge one. The unfaithful spouse became angry, critical, and cruel. Now, this is a huge sign. Now, once again, not necessarily a guarantee that there's an affair, but we typically find that it's hard to have. And now, some people, their cover is not blown because they're experts, they're professionals, they know how to compartmentalize, they know how to live one life outside of the home and live another life inside the home, and it's just a smooth transition. But for a lot of people, what happens when there's an affair, it's a highly intensified emotion that you share with another person. And during that time, during that season, the emotions are it's like all of your emotional energies are going towards one person. And so what happens is it depletes and it plummets for your spouse. So the joy and bliss I get here, all of a sudden it causes frustration, agitation here. And we see this happen often in relationships where you become short-tempered. You don't have tolerance for things. You're not willing to deal with things. There's a hypersensitivity to things. And so constant fights and criticisms and all these types of things naturally happen in that season. And so when a spouse looks back and reflects, they're like, man, why are you so mad? Why is everything a fight? Why are we going through this? And then it begins to make sense. Oh, that was the time that you were in an affair.
Both of these are classic displacement, right? So they're basically moving and adjusting blame somewhere else. So whether it's the distance or anything else, and what you're seeing is survival-like, childlike behavior that's going to come up and surface, and you'll notice it in other things that they do too. And like I said, it's not necessarily an indication of cheating. It just could be how they react under high stress situations. And so the guilt causes a high stress situation. And so they'll they'll look for things, subconsciously look for things that are wrong in the relationship to justify why they're being emotionally distant, so they can argue with you, fight with you, put you down, belittle you, hurt you, and also to become distant. They'll use the same justification to not really be engaged or involved. But it's childlike behavior, and people resort to their baseline instincts in the high stress situations that they're not used to managing. The people who compartmentalize are used to doing that anyway, and some of your indicators are going to be watching how they lie to other people, because these people who compartmentalize are usually compulsive liars. And you know that there are two different people, one person at the home and a whole different person at church, a whole different person at work, a whole different person when they see their boys in the street, and a whole different person when they're around people at their same intellectual level. So you'll see them change up Like I said, these are not necessarily indicators that they're cheating, but it's definitely an indicator that there's some stressor going on in their lives that they're not discussing with you.
Absolutely. Great point. Tiffany has a comment. She says, my husband has been caught having multiple emotional affairs. Can't tell me why. With this latest incident, he now feels he doesn't want me to see his phone and he's unwilling to really open up to me. Lakeisha, weigh in on that. And then I want you to jump in as well, Jewel.
Man, these phone fumbles are something else, man. Phone fumbles where you are hiding your phone, you're guarding your phone, you're keeping your phone with you all the time. You get defensive when your spouse asks to see the phone. Jeff, this is coin Jeff's statement. When you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing, right? So when you got these phone fumbles, you know how it is. They're on their phone, and the minute you come in the room, we're putting the phone down and we're hiding the phone. We're changing the password on the phone. I mean, those are all red flags. Those are all signs that something else may be going on. And you said that your husband has been caught having multiple emotional affairs. So that means that there really isn't, hopefully there's nothing physical that took place, but there's conversation. For you to be having multiple affairs, you're having multiple conversations with multiple people over a extended period of time, and you're connecting with these people on an emotional level. And there's some that feel like that's almost worse than you just having sex with someone, because now you're tied to this person. So not being open up to you, not being willing to open up to you, is because he's opened up to everybody else. And he's left no space or no room for you. He's given it all to whomever else that he's emotionally connected to. And there's nothing left to share with you because he's already shared it all.
Hiding your phone is a really strong hiding your phone is an indicator that there's a lot of lying going on. Women and men who are going through the situation, if somebody's trying to hide their phone on you, the fundamental logic is here. If I can share my body with you, then I should be able to share my phone with you. Period. There's no way of getting around that logic, because they try to use privacy and that's my space. And no, I'm sharing my body with you. What's the phone got to do with anything?
Let's go to this other comment, because I think this kind of weighs in. Check this out. Deanna says, what is your opinion of why, after 43 years of marriage, a husband would turn all finances over to our homosexual son, not allow me to have access to anything, and his cell phone on my son's contract? Well, I don't know what the homosexual part has to do with the question, but the whole idea of turning it over to a son and not you, that's a problem. That's an indication that something's wrong. I know a lot of couples who operate like that for a variety of, to me, bad reasons. Because to your point, Jeff, one body, like if I could share my body, I should be able to share my bank account. I should be able to share my phone. I should be able to share everything. Like, this is the most sacred thing, but we don't even value we value other things more important than this. And so the thing is, if I have secrets, I'm sweating bullets every time you get near my phone, and I don't want my cover blown. And so as a result of that, that's why people show up this way. Now, I want you to weigh in, Jewel, because, especially on the bank account piece, because you've worked in banking, I'm sure you have seen this, where spouses come in keeping secrets from one another, and I'm sure it has an impact on their relationship.
It has a severe impact on a relationship, because unfortunately, being in banking, we are bound to, certain procedures. And if your husband does not want you or doesn't have you on an account or anything noted, there is absolutely nothing you can do. If it's that husband and that child, it's that husband and that child's money. If it's that husband and that child, it is their right as far as getting information you're not privy to. But for a father to leave a son, regardless of the gender, most of the time it's because they feel as though their son is going to protect whatever it is that they're doing. Period. And then that son is going to protect it because they don't want to hurt their mother.
Let's have one more scenario, because it doesn't get addressed enough. The one case where that could happen legitimately is if there's been a lot of financial irresponsibility on the part of a spouse.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I add that?
Oh, please.
you may have added homosexuality for a reason. So I'm saying, is there some down low stuff going on here? And maybe you and your son are connected in some way with that. Like, I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
clarify.
why was that added in there? Like, why
Yeah.
was that significant with this conversation? So have you been rolling in some of those circles, and perhaps you
No
got
pun
something
intended.
going on with somebody else that your spouse is unaware of? Because what we do know about infidelity is that it's cloaked in secrecy. So you keeping secrets, there may be something more to that is bigger than what you even think. I don't know. Maybe.
That's an excellent question you're asking. It's a phenomenal question, and if you could explain that for us, because it just seemed like, what's the, like, I don't, like, why did you throw that in there? There may be a deeper meaning as to the why that can help us really answer your question in a more comprehensive way. But guys, we're talking about the 10 signs of a spouse cheating on you. We're just getting started. We have so much more to go. The comments are blowing up. Listen, we'll be right back after this quick message. Stay right there. Hey everybody, my name is Hassani Pettiford.
And I'm Danielle Pettiford, and we are the co-founders of Couples Academy, and we cannot wait to join you all the way in Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes, for the International Family Life Practitioners Conference. Listen, it's going to be happening on October 20th and 21st at 9 a.m. It's going to be at the David Christian Center, so make sure you show up. If you're a therapist, a practitioner, a coach, if you're anywhere in the marriage space and you want to take your business and your ministry to the next level, be there. When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us January 2023 for the Foundry experience. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're having some great conversation about the signs of a cheating spouse. And I think what we're covering is relevant. I think many of you can understand and relate because you've been in this dark place before. We're going to go to the next point that I think, man, here's another sign. We've seen this talked about in sessions. We've seen this typical excuse in movies and TV shows. It's just like the classic sign. And that is what? The excuse of the increase in working hours. Hey, I'm working late. Hey, I got to work a couple of extra hours. Hey, I got to work another shift. And that oftentimes becomes a cover for an affair. Like we're using that as the alibi, but the reality is I'm going somewhere else. And the reason why this is damaging is because now, whether the affair happened at the job or not, the job becomes a trigger. I remember I was counseling a couple and the husband was in a fraternity. Okay. And he would constantly say, hey, I got to go to my fraternity meeting. And rather than going to the meeting, he was going to meet with his affair partner, Once the affair came out, we worked through the recovery process. They were in a good place. He's ready to now enter back into life as normal. And even though the affair had absolutely nothing to do with the fraternity, nobody at the fraternity knew, the brothers weren't used as a cover, the fraternity was a trigger because that was the excuse that was being used. And so I think it's important. I think it's critically important that we're aware that when we're hearing things like that, it's not an indication that there's absolutely something going on, but it's something to be mindful of.
And you want to always stay mindful of that situation. Especially because if there's nothing going on, it's going to happen. You're going to stay late. You're going to say, hey, I get off at 5 and you might not get home until 7. But then that's when your line of communication comes. And if you can't reach out, then all of a sudden it becomes, where you at? What's the problem? Why haven't you been home? And that's the easiest way just to cover up something that, even if it's not there, it looks like something's there.
FaceTime. Like, you can get out of this one pretty much. Hey, look, I just need to feel secure. Video call me, video text me, Marco Polo me. Let me see where you're at. You want me to bring you dinner? They're working late.
Yeah. Well, guess what? You know, we've seen some people are stupid when it comes to cheating, and some people are very sophisticated and savvy and know how to have their partner right next to them. Be quiet while I make this call, right? Boom, FaceTime, right? So they figured things out. Like, I know somebody who swears up and down every single day, hey, I got to go to the gym. I got to get my workout on. Comes home every single night smelling good, gaining weight. Now, you think there would be results of going to the gym. The gym was the cover. The gym is where he met whoever he met to do whatever he did. And so this is what I'm saying. Like, if somebody's constantly out of the house, they can't sit down. You know, they're always in the street. They always got to be somewhere else. They're never home with the family, with you and the spouse. It's an indication. It's something to be mindful of. And Jeff, you know this. Jewel, you know this. One of the biggest issues that couples always struggle with, though it never comes out initially, is the lack of quality time. We don't spend time together. They've spent more time before I do together than the time that they've spent since they've gotten married. And they've gotten in this pattern where they just do life, and they meet up for meals, meet up for occasional sex, maybe a date, and meet up for things regarding the kids. Other than that, they live in their own separate lives in their own separate space, doing their own thing.
I agree. What's this black butterflies comment down here just caught my attention, threw me off guard. But
read it.
All right. Have I or am I doing things the wrong way by not asking questions? We've been through